Hello everyone. In this lecture, we will discuss magnetostatics. So far, we are discussing electrostatics. In electrostatics, our interest was to find out the forces between the charges which were static. Now, we are interested to find out the forces between the charges in motion. So, if you remember, if you remember that there in electrostatics we are calculated the forces between the charges. Suppose there is some charge distribution, and if there was some source charge, then we first calculated the electric field due to the individual charges, and then we have calculated the force by using this relation. Okay, now since we are interested to calculate the forces when the charges are in motion. Suppose there is some charge q1 and q2. If they are moving, then what type of force acts between them? Now to see this, let's consider a very simple example uh, of current flowing. So let's assume that some wires hang from your ceiling. Okay, some wires hang from ceiling, and if initially when you are not connected, it will appear like this. But uh, when you connect these two ends with a battery, okay, when you connect with the battery, means if you allow the current to flow in this wire, you will find that these wires jump apart. Okay, if you connect it with a battery, okay, if you connect it with a battery, so you will find these wires jump apart. Means I is flowing in this direction and it is returning back by this direction, so you will find that these wires jump apart. Now the question is, how will you explain this? You might suppose that battery is actually charging up the wire, and the force is simply due to the electric repulsion of similar charges. That means you may assume that this current I is due to some positive charges, and this charge is flowing in this direction and coming back in this direction. So these two charges are positive charges. So it should repel. But this explanation is not correct. This is not simply electrostatic repulsion of like charges, because when a test charge was brought near these wires, there was no force on it. So you see that in this case, current was flowing in both the wires, in both part of the wires, in opposite direction. But you may also may create a situation, means you may arrange the wires in such a manner that current is flowing in the same direction. What I want to say, if you arrange the wires like this, that current is flowing in this direction, if you connect like this, so you will find that in this particular situation, okay, in this particular situation, the current is flowing in same direction, and it is observed that they at these wires attract each other. So when the currents were anti-parallel, then repulsion occurs, and when the currents were parallel, then when the currents were parallel, then attractive force worked between these wires. So we see that your first explanation might be that this is due to the repulsion between like charges, but in this case, this explanation does not work, because here again the same charges, but same type of charges, but in this case when the current is in the same direction, it was attractive. So, whatever force account for the attraction of parallel currents and repulsion of anti-parallel ones is not electrostatic in nature. It is our first encounter with the magnetic force. Whereas stationary charges produces only an electric field in the space around it, but a moving charge generates in addition a magnetic field. So what is our conclusion? That a stationary charge produces only electric field. Okay, stationary Q only produces electric field, whereas moving charge moving charge produces both electric field and magnetic field. In fact, magnetic fields are a lot easier to detect in practice. For example, if you have a, a compass, then you will find that it needles points in the direction of local magnetic field. Okay, if there is no any local magnetic field produced, then you will find that the compass always uh, points in the north direction. That is the direction of the magnetic field due to the earth. But in the laboratory, uh, you may produce the magnetic field much much in a higher strength than the magnetic field of the earth. So if you bring the magnetic needle in near to the current carrying wire, you will found that the a force uh, a force works on this magnetic needle. So you can say that the suppose this is the, if you place here, you suppose this is the current carrying wire. If you place a compass here, you will find that it follows the path like this. So you can say that because of this current carrying wire, there is the presence of a magnetic field. Or you can simply say that moving charges produces the magnetic field. So this is the already established that if a current flows in a straight wire, the magnetic field direction will be, magnetic field lines will be like that. Okay, this is I, and these are the magnetic field lines. So one thing that you will notice in the vicinity of a current carrying wire, that field does not point toward the wire or away from it, but it circles around the wire. In fact, if you grab the wire with your right hand, having your thumb in the direction of current, then your finger curves around the direction of magnetic field. So this is how the concept of magnetic field comes into the picture. So now having the concept of magnetic field, now I would like to discuss the magnetic force. So magnetic force due to the magnetic force. This magnetic force is generally caused by the magnetic field. So let's talk about the Lorentz force law. So So in electrostatics, we have seen that forces are due to the electric field. Okay, so you have defined the force as F is equal to QE. This force on any charge is due to the electric field. This is only for the case in which charge was static. Now when the charge moves, then two types of forces works. One is electrostatic force, that is F is equal to QE, and other is magnetic force. So this magnetic force is actually responsible for the this magnetic force is actually responsible with, for attraction or repulsion between current carrying wires. So F magnetic force is due to the charges in motion. Lorentz have shown that if q charge if q charge is moving with velocity v in the magnetic field B, then the force on this charge can be given by q Lorentz force law. Okay, so this equation is called Lorentz force law. So according to the Lorentz force law, if q charge is moving with velocity v in the presence of any magnetic field, then the force on that charge will be equal to q multiplied by v cross v. So in the presence of both electric and magnetic fields, the net force on charge q would be given by, so net force F is due to F electric field and F magnetic field. Okay, so net force, if q charge is in the presence of both electric and magnetic field, then the total force on this charge q will be given by F is equal to QE plus F is q v cross v. So here is the force due to the electric field, and here this force is due to the magnetic field. And this force only works when the charges are in motion. If q charge is moving with velocity v, then because of the magnetic field, a force works on this charge. Now I want to repeat once again. So according to Lorentz, when a charge q enters into the magnetic field with some velocity v, then it experiences a force F is equal to q v cross v. So now I would like to extend this discussion. Now let's assume that dq charges is flowing in a magnetic field. Then if dq charge is flowing in a magnetic field with a velocity v, then the force on this charge can be written like this: df is equal to dq v cross v. Okay, here v and v are both vectors. So this charge may be distributed over some length in a wire. Okay, so this charge may be distributed over, means dq charge, what I am saying, that if dq charge is moving with velocity v, then according to the Lorentz force law, the force that which will work on this charge dq is given by this equation. If this charge is distributed over some length or in a wire, then F, the magnetic field on the wire, is given by dq v cross v. Okay, so if this charge dq is distributed over this length segment, then the force on this length segment, okay, is given by this length of wire. The force on this length of wire is given by dq v cross v. Okay, so let me clear. What I want to say is that if dq is the charge and it is moving with velocity v, then the force on the charge is given by df is equal to dq v cross b. Now if suppose this dq, if q charge is distributed over length and dq is the part of this charge, means a small length, dq is the charge of a small length element, then or you can say that dq is the charge of infinitesimal length element dl, then the total force due to the magnetic field on this entire charge can be given by integrating this the force due to the small charge dq. Okay, so in place of df you can write dq v cross v. Clear? So what does it mean? This equation means, equation tells you about the force, about the about the amount of force, about the magnitude of force that will work on the wire having charge q. Let's take the example of a current carrying wire. Okay, suppose this is your current carrying wire. Okay, a current in a wire may be considered as a wire with some line charge density. So you may, since the charge q is flowing here, so there may be some charge distribution here. So you may consider that this wire have some line charge density lambda. Okay, so this wire has some line charge density lambda. It means if you take a small length element dl in this wire, then the charge of this length element is given by lambda dl. So if this wire is in a magnetic field b, okay, if this wire is in a magnetic field b, then the force on this wire is given by F is equal to dq v vector cross v vector. Okay, in place of dq, since we have assumed that since the current is flowing, since the current is flowing here, so the current means there is some flow of charges, so it have some line charge density lambda. Let's call it the line charge density is lambda, and this charge density is moving with velocity v. So you may take a small length element dl, so this length element will have the charge dq is equal to lambda dl. Okay, so in place of dq you can write lambda dl into v cross v. Okay, you may take the lambda with v, or if you remember, we have your velocity of flow of charge is just changing dl by dt, how the charge is moving. Okay, so rate of change of this displacement, so dl by dt is your velocity of flow of the charges. So in place of uh, uh, dl you can write lambda, or you can write it like this, dl lambda v vector cross v vector. Okay, since v is along the direction where the length is length, if you consider length element have some direction, so you may take the direction of v with dl, so you can write it dl vector cross lambda. You may write it not like this. Okay, so you may write f, sorry, so you may write f as dl dl cross v into lambda v. So if you consider v is in the direction of dl and you can take v outside, no? So this will give the direction dl cross v. So here I am assumed that dl, initially I have taken that dl have no direction, but if you include some direction on this length element, okay, so this is your wire. So actually at this point this length element is pointing in the direction of flow of charges, so it also gives the direction in which current is flowing. So dl vector is in the same direction with velocity, okay, with the direction in which current is flowing. So you can write like this, okay. Now you know that current I is defined as dq by dt, and in this case dq is your lambda dl, okay. And you know that lambda dl by, you can take it together, so dl by dt is your v, so you can write I as lambda into v. We have already discussed in the uh, in the discussion of continuity equation that I is equal to lambda v, k is equal to sigma v, and j is equal to rho v, okay. So in place of lambda v we can write I. So the force on the current carrying wire due to the magnetic field can be written as dl vector cross v vector into I, okay. You may simply take the I outside of the integral, okay, since you can write like this. So this expression tells you the force due to the magnetic field on a current carrying wire. So here we have assumed that current is flowing in the direction of length element dl, okay. That's why I have taken it as a vector quantity, and I have taken out the v from this product. So this equation basically gives you uh, it tells you about the magnetic field that works on a current carrying wire due to this magnetic field. So this is the force on a current carrying wire due to the magnetic field. Now let's take another example of current flowing along a sheet. So in continuous of our previous discussion, we know that if the current is flowing on a sheet, suppose I is the current that is flowing on this sheet, okay, you may take a small ribbon on this sheet, and if you take a small patch, infinitesimal patch area on this, that is dA uh, with dimensions dl parallel along the direction of current flowing and dl perpendicular along the direction along the perpendicular direction of current flowing. So in this case you can write dq is equal to sigma. If sigma is the charge density, means since the current is flowing on this surface, so it will have you may consider that it have some surface current surface charge density, as you have taken lambda in case of a wire, okay. In case of a wire we have taken that current is there is some line current density, okay, line charge density. So here you will assume that when the current is flowing on a sheet, okay, when the current is flowing along a sheet, so it will be equivalent to the charge density sigma is flowing with some velocity v, okay. So in this case you can write dq is equal to sigma into dA, okay. So you can write F, the force acting on this charge element due to the magnetic field. If you assume that this CT is in presence of some magnetic field, so you can the magnetic field, due to the magnetic field it will be the force on this element, this surface area, this uh, so this infinitesimal area is dq is equal to your v cross b. Okay, clear? So total force on this sheet due to the magnetic field can be given by f integrate. We just need to integrate. Okay, just to include the contribution of all the charges. So in place of dq you can just write sigma dA. So you will have sigma dA v vector cross v vector, and you know that k is equal to sigma v. Okay, so you can just write dA k cross. Okay, so k vector is just sigma v. You can write dA is equal to k cross v. So this integral is over a surface. Okay, so this is the force acting on a sheet, current carrying sheet. In the similar manner, if the current is flowing through a three-dimensional volume, then in that case current is equivalent to a flow of a volume charge density. So in that case you can take a small infinitesimal volume element having charge dq, and you can write is dq is equal to rho d tau, and using the expression j is equal to rho v, you can find the expression for the magnetic field, that will be j cross b d tau. Okay, so this is the force, this is the force due to the magnetic field on a current carrying sheet, and this is the force on a magnetic and this is the force on a current carrying three-dimensional volume due to the presence of any magnetic field, and this equation was for the force acting on a current carrying wire due to the magnetic field. So this was all about the force due to the magnetic field and the current carrying wire. Now I would like to discuss the Biot-Savart law. The Biot-Savart law is equivalent to the Coulomb's law. Okay, it tells you how the what is the it tells you about the magnetic field due to the current carrying wire. So Biot-Savart law is for steady current. Stationary charges, as you know that in electric field, in electrostatics, stationary charges produces electric fields that are constant in time. Hence we use the term electrostatics. Similarly, steady currents produce magnetic fields that are constant in time. Therefore, the theory of steady current is called magnetostatics. So now the name is very clear. The electrostatics is due to the stationary charges, as stationary charges produces constant electric field. Magnetostatics is due to the steady currents, and because steady current produces a constant magnetic field, therefore it is called magnetostatics. The Biot-Savart law. Now continue our discussion for Biot-Savart law. Okay, the Biot-Savart law gives the magnetic field of a steady current flowing in a wire. So let me write the So the Biot-Savart law gives the magnetic field of a steady current flowing in a wire. So what does it mean? Suppose an steady current I. What does steady current mean? Steady current means the current that does not changes with time. Okay. So if I is the steady current, uh, steady current means uh, a continuous flow that has been going on forever without change and without charge piling up anywhere. So you can say that for magnetostatics, static means del rho by del t is equal to 0, or if del rho by del t is equal to 0, so in that case del j by del t is equal to 0, means throughout the wire, throughout the length of the wire, rho is, that is charge density is always constant, means with time rho does not changes. Okay, similarly the j, the current density, should not change with time. Okay, so if these two conditions hold, then we can say that current is steady current. Okay, so the Biot-Savart law is for only steady current. So Biot-Savart law gives the magnetic field of a steady current flowing in a wire. So let's assume that I current is flowing in a wire. Okay, like this is the direction of flow of current. If you take a small length element dl, okay, if you take a small length element, uh, let's call it dl dash. Okay, I am using dash coordinate for the for this wire. Okay, so since the I current is flowing in this wire and dl is the small length element, then the magnetic field at any point P and at distance r, if suppose this point P is at r distance from this length element dl dash, then the magnetic field then the magnetic field due to this length element is equal to mu naught upon 4 pi I cross r cap, okay, dl dash divided by r square. Okay, what does it mean? That the magnetic field is inversely proportional to the square of distance between this length element and the point P, and it is proportional to the current flowing the wire. Okay, so the Biot-Savart law, this is the Biot-Savart law. Okay, this tells you the magnetic field due to the this uh, small length element which have some current I. Okay, so so in order to find out the total magnetic field B at this point P, because of the contribution of entire length of the wire, you need to integrate this term. So the magnetic field B because of this wire will be given by mu naught I upon 4 pi dl dash cross r cap by r square. So you might be thinking, so I was here here I was a vector quantity. If you, and it was in the same, I was in the same direction of dl dash, so I have written here I have taken I as a scalar quantity and given this direction of this I into this length element. So here dl dash is your is a vector. Okay, it tells you the direction of flow of current. So the magnetic field will be given by B is equal to mu 0 I upon 4 pi dl dash cross r cap by r square. Why I have done this? Because if the wire may this length element is along the wire, so it may vary any direction anyway, but I is the constant, so I have taken I outside and given the flow direction in, I have given the direction of flow of this current to the length element. Okay, so this length element includes the direction. Okay, so this is the magnetic field due to the current carrying wire. So using this expression, so this is called Biot-Savart law. Okay, so this expression, using this expression, you can calculate the magnetic field of a current carrying wire. So here you are familiar with the pi, but here mu naught have the value 4 pi into 10 to power minus 7 Newton per ampere square, and it is called permeability of free space. So it is permeability of free space. So one thing that I want to point out, that this integration is along the current path, along the direction of flow. So dl dash is an length element along the wire, and r as always is the vector from the source to the point. The so current, since here is the line current, so current may be of any forms, like surface current, and it can also be a volume current. So in that case, the Biot-Savart law takes the form. So for surface current, the magnetic field due to the surface current is given by K r dash cross r cap dA dash, okay, divided by r square, and magnetic field due to volume current can be written as J r dash cross r cap r square d tau dash. So these are the other forms of Biot-Savart law for surface charge current, surface current, and volume current. Now let's take an example of straight wire, infinitely long straight wire, and we will find out the magnetic field due to this long straight wire. Okay, so now our problem is to determine the magnetic field or distance S from a long straight wire carrying a steady current. So let's assume that this is your long straight wire and it carries a current I, and you have to find out the magnetic field at distance S. So you have to find out the magnetic field at point P, which is at distance S from this long straight wire. So in order to calculate the magnetic field at this point, let's take a small length element dl dash. Okay, so small length element dl dash at distance L. Okay, so because of this length element you can calculate the magnetic field. Okay, so using the Biot-Savart law, the magnetic field, this magnetic field due to this length element dl dash is given by dv is equal to mu naught I upon 4 pi into dl dash cross r cap divided by r square. So now the problem is to find out dl cross r cap. So dl dash cross r cap is basically the magnitude of dl dash, okay, dl dash vector, and this is r cap, okay, and one an angle between dl dash and r cap. So this is your r vector na? So r cap is also along this direction. So angle between this is, suppose dl and r is theta. So now it's better to take the theta at this angle na? So if this angle is theta, so this angle, the angle between this will be 90 minus theta. So dl cross r cap will be your sine 90 minus theta. So it will give you just the magnitude. Write it only dl dash. Okay, let's call it l dash to avoid any confusion. So your dl dash will be dl dash cos theta. So this is your equation number 1 and this is your equation number 2. Okay, now from this triangle, so this is at 90 degree and this is your theta and this is 90 minus theta. So you can find tan theta as tan theta is your l dash by s. Okay, so your tan theta is l dash by s. So you can write dl dash. Okay, you can write dl dash is equal to s dd tan theta is equal to sec square theta and d theta. Okay, s is the constant. S is at distance. S is the distance from the wire where you are interested to calculate the magnetic field. So you can write dl dash as s sec square theta d theta, or you can also write dl dash is equal to s upon cos square theta d theta. Now put this value here. So you will have dv vector is equal to mu naught I upon 4 pi, and dl cross r you can write dl dash cos theta. Okay, and okay, no problem. So you can divide it by r square. So in place of dl dash mu 0 I upon 4 pi, and dl dash in place of dl dash you can write s cos square theta d theta, and here is your cos theta divided by r square. So one cos theta will cancel, and so you will have finally mu naught I by 4 pi into s d theta divided by cos theta divided by r square. If you see, so your cos theta can also be written as s by r. Okay, so you can write r is equal to s sec theta. Okay, so here you can put mu 0 I upon 4 pi s by cos theta d theta. In place of r substitute s square sec square theta. Okay, so 1 cos theta is equal to 1 by sec theta is equal to 1 by cos theta. So you can write it as mu 0 I upon 4 pi. So you will convert sec into cos, so you will get s cos theta divided by s square into d theta. 1 s will cancel this s, so you will have the expression mu 0 I upon 4 pi cos theta. S will be here, you can put here cos theta d theta. So this is your dB. Okay, this dB is magnetic field due to this length element. So in order to find out the magnetic field due to the entire length of wire, okay, in this long wire, you need to integrate over theta. If theta is theta for long wire, you know the if theta will be, if you want to cover the entire length infinitely long wire, so your theta should vary from pi by 2 to minus pi by 2. Okay, so you need to integrate. So your b will be equal to mu naught I upon 4 pi integration from, so you may just put the limit theta 1 to theta 2, and it will be equal to cos theta d theta. If you integrate, you will get mu naught I 4 pi s into sine theta 2 minus sine theta 1. So this is your expression for magnetic field for which for a wire which extends angle in this direction theta 1 and in this direction theta 2. So you may for infinitely long wire theta 1 should be equal to minus pi by 2. So theta 1 is equal to minus pi by 2 and theta 2 should be equal to pi by 2. Okay, so your limit will change. So if you substitute this theta 1 minus pi by 2 and theta 2 pi by 2, you will get b is equal to mu naught I by 2 pi s. This is a very important result. So this is the magnetic field due to a very long wire. Yeah, or you can say that this is the magnetic field due to the infinitely long wire.